Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach and I'm going to hold off on the unique name thing. I started looking into it, and not only with just how do you generate something that's truly unique for a type that would technically be the assembly full name if you were actually using a type from reflection, which is not what we want to do. Even if you had that, there's this whole question around this discussion with the hint names. I'm actually going to grab this and put this in my notes so I don't forget. It's just basically like, this is not as easy as you think. And there's discussion on other people running into this with their own source generators. And I threw in my 2 cents down at the bottom here. And I'm kind of like, well, what do you really do here? What's the right decision? If what you're basing on is the type, that seems the most logical thing to pick for a name. So then how do you make sure that it's unique and that it can fit as a file name and, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to skip that one for now because arguably it really doesn't happen that much. It's a very small case, and I'm just going to leave it for now. So the one I'm going to pick next is this one. And what's interesting is with this is apparently when I was doing this is that the type T entity must be a non-nullable value. Used as a parameter T in the generic type. Yeah, I forgot what the problem is here. Oh, that's right. Okay, I didn't take it one step farther. What you really want to do is class mock context, and then you have context here. No, S context. And so you do this, and then you say override find. And it should still be this. It should still be fine. Because we're overriding it here, I think that still makes it virtual. You haven't sealed it. If I made sealed here, then it will say, yeah, you cannot inherit it. So I'm a little confused here as to what the problem is, because we're passing in here, that should make a mock, and then don't make the return type nullable. But that's exactly what it's being done here, is it makes the return type nullable with this. So I'm not really sure what the problem is. I'm going to have to write a test. So I'm going to make the branch, write the test, and then see if I can figure out where exactly the problem is with this. Okay, I'm not sure if this is a bug anymore, or it's based on something that was a bug in the first place. Let me explain. So I put the test in, and it came back and gave all the errors that I kind of was sort of expecting. But I was looking at this and going, well, find actually does this. So I'm kind of sitting there going, well, wait, it looked like it was supposed to be doing the thing that I did in SharpLab over here, which is you have the virtual method here, find, and then you say it's derived by class, and then you say this. This is what actually SharpLab gave. This is what was subtle. I didn't pick this up in my example, and I should have put this in here, which is this derived class as context didn't put the where, the where constraint of it being a class. And so when you do that here, it's like, well, what I should be doing is saying where T entity is class. And then everything goes away. So it's not necessarily the problem of rocks per se to fix this. Because if I do this and it misses it, now it's like, oh, well, what I should be doing is probably that. Whoops. And then I need to take that off. But now this is saying the type must be a non-nullable value, I think. So you need to say where T entity is not null. That doesn't help. That makes it worse. So you now need to say that, but that doesn't help because this could return a null. So I think what we're running into is this is doing the right thing. It's that this isn't doing the right thing. This should really be saying, like, if we took off the thing that we kind of sort of generate ourselves, this is wrong in of itself. The return type should be a T entity, not, or more to the point where T entity is equal to class. It should also carry on the constraint. Okay. And so I said, well, this is based on something from DB context. And I went, where? Because I'm kind of sitting here going, DB context derives from this. And I'm kind of sitting here going, now, I wonder if this changed in a version from what I was referencing before to what I have now. In that the example that I put here used to have, like I said, this was found on Entity Framework, not Entity Framework Core. That's a difference. That's something I've actually changed. So I'm kind of wondering, do I just basically, oh, I love that, quirk enabled. That is funny. I find it very interesting that on the app context, if you get this switch, if quirk enabled, I'm going to make a comment about that later. If quirk enabled, okay. So I'm wondering if the hierarchy, the inheritance hierarchy changed for DB context such that, well, isn't there a DB context of T, I thought? Or am I thinking of something else? I'm starting to wonder if this was ever an issue in the first place. I really don't know. You know what? Hold on. Let me actually do this. Let me come down here. Well, actually, let's take that off. And let's pull up this. Because this is one that I knew was giving me a whole bunch of problems. So let's do that. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to run this and let me see what this does. Well, I'm now running into this problem too, that when I'm trying to find the line in the output, it's no longer giving me the same kind of line that I expected before. So that's also a problem. That's becoming a big problem with this. I don't know what changed, but something did. And yeah. So, you know, I have to rethink how I do this. We're still getting 354 errors. And there's also other things in here that could possibly be the problem. But I'm starting to wonder if this is, you know what, actually, damn it. I should have captured in here when I'm doing issues, other issues. Consider, there's a new framework I heard of, ILGPU to code. I have no idea if this would be good or not, but it seems like it's a pretty low level framework, and I wonder if I can get any insights in terms of things are failing. Really need to change how lines are found in cogen tests. So yeah, I should have kept that up. Let me run it again and then I'll capture that error. Okay, there's the problem. So we get like an error because of our generation, but then we get the code here and then we get an unhandled exception at test generator line 116. So we get the line number, but the line here doesn't match, which is interesting because, like, in this case, I don't think it's lining up anymore. So we get like the error, and the error is selecting the ID, the description, and the line and the location. And now that line span doesn't really match start. Like, what we really want is we get a location here, and the location should actually have a, okay, now I'm really confused. Isn't source tree, get mapped line span. Gets a location in terms of path, line, and column after applying source line mapping directives. Line in C#, Well, okay, I don't think I do that, so I don't think it should matter. The source span. That's where you get the start of the character and then the end. And I wonder if that would actually be more correct instead of trying to, let's actually do this. Let's see if we can, what? I do want to fix this. So if we do this and we say, grab everything. Okay, so now we have mock code lines. That's just a string. Okay. And so that's now going to string. What we want to do is get a span here. Okay, so let's get the error span. And so we get the source span here. Sorry, I got interrupted my son asking me a question. So we get the span. And then I think what we want to do here is say error span start dot dot error span end. Maybe. And the same thing for here, like warning. Warning span is equal to warning dot line dot span source span. Okay. And so down here we do the same thing. We say mock code lines. We say warning span dot getting texts. Warning span dot end. I think. Let me just give this a try. Okay, that didn't work either. Now we're getting a start index cannot be larger than the length of the string. I'm really confused here. I know I'm getting completely sidetracked, but hold on. Are we in debug here? Okay, let me get to this point because I'm like, I feel like the output compilation of what I'm getting is not matching what I'm seeing here for code. Something just isn't sitting right with me. Hold on. Okay, so we're here. Mock code lines. That's like basically the entirety, I think, of everything that we're doing. Because we take the mock code, which is all the syntax trees, which is like 749, you know, which we say to array. Syntax trees is just syntax trees, and we say to array. But then what does this hat want? I mean, I know it's an index. Like if we did this, and so to array to string length. No wonder it wasn't giving me IntelliSense. Output compilation. What is to array giving you? I don't. Yeah, that's all like that. And if you do to string on that, yeah, I get that that would be those. And we want to do to string. I just don't think that this is. And so we get an error span here, and we get 2023, 2004. But if we look at mock code lines length, well, that should be fine because we're saying 2023 to 2042, and that should be fine. But now we're getting 65,977, which is well beyond what we have. My wife and I are going to be going to lunch in a couple of moments, so I'm kind of wondering if this is a good place to stop because, one, I don't understand. Well, you know what? Okay, what I can do here real quick is let's go back to program here. I don't know if I can pull this off as fast as I want to. So let's do this. Let's pull this out because we don't want that anymore. Let's say test with type. So what we want to test here is with DB context. And let's do that. And let's just see what happens here. Oh, we need link stuff. So let's just say iQueryable. So we need a new, and then let's put in iQueryable. Oh, for God's sakes. Type of iQueryable, queryable of that, no, Oh, I think it just, okay. See, now DB context works just fine. It's not that there weren't other errors. I mean, you saw there's like 300 errors in Entity Framework, and I'm not sure. I kind of am remembering somewhere in the back of my head going, I think I just said screw it with EF, even though I knew I needed to come back to it because there were so many things wrong with it. But I'm kind of like, I can't reproduce this anymore with DB context, and that's where this came from. So I'm kind of satisfied with just saying, let's close this out because I can't reproduce this anymore. And you really shouldn't be doing that anyway in your, if you tried to do what I showed here, which this is the original example, you would get an error anyway. So it wouldn't be correct and we shouldn't handle it. So I'm thinking at my mindset right now, that's what we should do. So I'm going to close this out. I have captured that we have to handle this thing. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I really need to fix this. So because it's come up as a problem before. So I'm going to go to lunch and maybe I'll come back and fix some other things. Thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.